Rainbow Six Siege mixes strategical and tactical gameplay with action-oriented gunfights. We can strategize all we want, but at the end of the day we need to win our engagements with enemies. Everyone wants to get better at their gunplay in competitive FPS games regardless of their rank. A lot of it has to do with aim, which we will discuss in other videos. But there is more to gunfights than just the ability to click heads. The tips I am about to give you are habits that you should create as soon as possible to improve your odds at winning in Rainbow Six Siege. They will be especially useful for new and returning players, but also for those of you who developed bad habits in the game. If you find my approach in Rainbow Six Siege helpful, then make sure to check out my website called r6siegecenter.com, where we have tons of guides to help you get better in Siege. And if you are particularly eager to get good, then consider buying my ebook called Rainbow Six Siege Mastery. Okay, let's get into it, starting with tip number 1. In Rainbow Six Siege, there is a neat trick that can give you a real advantage. It's called Prefiring. You may know this term from other FPS games, but for those of you who are not familiar with it, let me explain what Prefiring means. So, Prefiring happens when you start shooting even before you see the other guy. You're kind of guessing where they might be and taking action before they have a chance to react. You may be wondering why Prefiring is so good. Well, simply because it makes your reaction time faster. Instead of waiting to see the enemy before you start shooting, you surprise them by shooting first. Normally, you would check an angle, see an enemy, and then pull a trigger. There is a delay between each of these actions, which lowers your odds of winning a gunfight. By pre-firing, you eliminate the delay and therefore increase your chances of being faster than your enemy. Now, there are two main categories of pre-fires. One is based on player tendencies and the other on actual intel. You can start utilizing the first one as soon as you learn typical positions and angles people hold in the game. You can treat this pre-fire technique as an educated guess. This type of pre-fire is especially useful for objective room plays when you have no information about enemy's position. For example, when drones and cameras are unavailable and you don't hear enemy's footsteps. Try to think like your enemy would. A question to ask yourself is, what position would you choose if you were them? And then we have the second method of pre-firing by using an actual intel. This type of pre-fire is usually more accurate and likely to hit the mark because it uses an actual information. Rainbow Six Siege gives us tons of options to get intel. We have drones, cameras, and other gadgets like traps. Use the information received about the enemy's position to pre-fire accurately. And here is the most crucial tip that so many players forget about. Don't let them know that you know. Don't ping them unless it's necessary. And if you have to ping, use yellow ping rather than the red one. Stay smart, gather intel, and be one step ahead of your opponents. The tip number 2 is to stop sprinting. Sprinting is one of the most common mistakes players make in Rainbow Six Siege. And it's not only new players who use sprinting way too much, old timers do that as well. See, in Rainbow Six Siege, sprinting has few downsides. First, you can't use ADS when sprinting. It takes a moment for your character to stop sprinting and then aim down sight. So if enemy pops up who does not sprint and is already in ADS, then unless they mess up, you are going to lose that gunfight. Second issue with sprinting is that it makes a lot of noise. And in case you haven't noticed yet, sound is extremely important in Rainbow Six Siege. So the point here is that you should sprint only when you are certain that no enemy is nearby and when it's absolutely needed. Maps are not as big as it initially feels in Siege. And this point leads us to a very related tip, which is a continuation of this thought. Aiming down sight is commonly known as ADS. If you are to remember one thing from this tip, let it be this: ADS as much as possible. See, hipfire is ass in Rainbow Six Siege unless you are using a shotgun. So when firing at enemy, you want to be always in ADS since it is the only accurate method of shooting in this game. It pains me to see how many of new, returning or low-ranked players turn corners and enter rooms without being in ADS. And that is, my friends, a recipe for easy deaths. The problem with not being an ADS when meeting your enemy is, yet again, that it takes time for your character to get into that position. This is especially the case if you are using vertical grip on your guns, which you should be doing on most of your weapons anyway. Remember that every little delay on your part matters when it comes to competitive shooters and is often the difference between winning or losing a gunfight. So don't let such simple action as not being an ADS be the reason you continuously lose encounters with enemies. Moving on to the tip number 4. Here's a valuable tip that can keep you alive and kicking in the game. Always check your damn corners. It might sound simple, but it can make a big difference in your survival. See, what tends to be easy to do is usually also easy not to do. And here's the deal. Don't just rush into a room without knowing what's waiting for you inside. Sure, if you have some good intel from your team, that's great, but sometimes you will have to rely on yourself. So when you are clearing location, get into a habit of checking your corners. Go one corner at a time, making sure you're not exposing yourself to multiple angles at once. This way, you will minimize the chances of getting shot from unexpected places. By being cautious and checking those corners, you will avoid unnecessary deaths and develop a killer habit that will serve you well in Rainbow Six Siege. Furthermore, if you want to up your game and secure those sweet kills, here's a crucial tip for you. Always aim at head level. Many new or low ranked players tend to aim way too low, like at the chest or even the floor level. But in Rainbow Six Siege, there is a golden rule. 1 headshot equals 1 kill, no matter your weapon or operator. Well, maybe except for Blackbeard, but that's another story. So aiming at the head is your ticket to victory in gunfights. Why is it so important? Well, let me tell you. Your aim won't always be perfect, and that's okay. But by keeping your crosshair at head level, you save precious time because you don't have to adjust your aim up or down when you spot an enemy. That means quicker reactions and a higher chance of landing that crucial headshot. And the last tip I have for you today is about reloading your gun. See, we all have that instinct to reload a gun when we don't have a full magazine. You will have to resist this temptation in Rainbow Six Siege. If you just got out of engagement or killed an enemy with few bullets left in your magazine, hold off on reloading just for a moment. Expect enemies to push you, and if they don't show up in a matter of few seconds, then probably it's safe to reload. Here is the secret. Even with just a few rounds left in your magazine, you still have enough bullets to win another gunfight. So, hold on and make every shot count. You may ask, what if I run out of bullets on the primary? In this case, quickly switch to your trusty secondary weapon until you find a safe spot to reload your main gun. It's far better to use a secondary than having no gun at all. These are my 7 tips on how to win gunfights for Rainbow Six Siege players. I hope you found this video useful and that you will get better at winning engagements. Personally, I am struggling with rebuilding my good habits after a long break from Rainbow Six Siege. How about you? Which one of these are you struggling with the most? What are the bad habits people have in Siege that you see the most frequently? If you enjoyed this video, then I would appreciate your like. It only takes a moment of your time, yet it helps greatly with how the content performs on YouTube algorithm. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, then hit that subscribe button. Thanks for your time, and I see you in the next one.